Okay, so today we're going to look at this sign. And even if you just look at the sign, even if you don't understand what these words here are trying to say, you can probably guess what maybe the gist of what's going on here. But let's break it down word for word or grammar by grammar here. This first word, gongsa, the verb gongsa refers to or means construction, construct or to make. And the noun form without the hada, so gongsa hada would be the verb, but just gongsa would be the noun form of that verb, and that would be construction. Now, a beginner of Korean would look at these three syllables, gongsa jung, and think, of course, because there's no space, that this must be one word, gongsa jung. But actually, jung in gongsa, there actually should be a space here. Now, jung is put after the noun form of a verb, like we have here, to indicate that this thing is currently happening, or it's processing, or it's progressing. And actually, if you go to lesson 33, I do a whole lesson on jung, and there's actually a section at the very beginning where I talk about jung being placed right after it's funny, a sign. And I wrote this lesson about 2 years ago, and little did I know that 2 years later I'd be doing a video about signs. And you can even see, it's common to see this usage of jung on signs. And the first example that I give is, guess what? It says gongsa jung, and it says under construction. And it's crazy because, 2 years ago when I wrote that lesson, I didn't expect to be making a video about this, but here I am in 2018. So anyways, I find it interesting that there actually should be a space here. Gongsa jung is not one word, and there should be a space here to indicate that it's not one word, but anyways, there's not. So this top part here is the English equivalent of saying under construction, but it's gongsa jung. Now here we have this fairly short sentence with only a few words, but we'll go through it step by step. I'll start with probably the easiest word here, which is just 죄송하다, but with the formal conjugation of putting 합니다 at the end of it. So it's 죄송합니다. And that, even if you're not amazing at Korean, you can probably already know that says, or that means I'm sorry, or to be sorry. It's an adjective, and it says I'm sorry. Now, what are we sorry about? Well, this word here is probably the most difficult word in the whole sentence, 통행. And I'll get to A in a second, but 통행 is a noun, and 통행하다 would be the verb, but we're focusing on this noun here right now. And 통 means to pass through in Hanja, and hang would mean just to move or to flow or something like that. And 통행 in general is sort of referring to the noun of moving through or flowing through. And actually, this is one of those words that if you know the Hanja behind it, you kind of can guess what it's going to mean, even if you've never seen it before. And that's actually how I learned this word a long time ago. And lo and behold, I have in my Hanja lesson number 25, I actually have the Hanja character for this hang, and there's some other ones that refer to moving and progressing and stuff like that. But the Hanja character for hang and the Hanja character for tong are actually both in the same lesson. Now, anyways, back to our sign. Like I was saying, it's a pretty difficult word, but it's one of those times where actually studying Hanja will actually sort of help you understand a word. So anyways, this is referring to the flowing or people moving through something. So already we know that this person here is sorry, and he's sorry about something passing or people passing or something like that. And here 불편하다 is an adjective that means to be uncomfortable. So the 불편 on its own is just referring to the noun or the feeling or just uncomfortableness in a noun sense, and not necessarily the adjective itself, but being uncomfortable or the uncomfortableness. So far we can break down this sentence to this person or this company is sorry for the uncomfortableness that one or the passersby have while passing through. Now, this word here, it's kind of, an English speaker would look at this and say, well, how does this relate to this? Now, drida is actually the formal way to say juda, or to give. And I have a whole lesson on why and where and when juda would be used. And specifically, I have another lesson on when you would use drida over juda. And the simple explanation is juda is if you're giving something to somebody with, a friend or somebody that deserves a low amount of respect for whatever reason, like a young person, you would use juda. But you would use drida, and again, this says durya, it doesn't say drida, but you would use drida, and I'll just write the base form of this word here, just so we are all on the same page. Drida is used when you're giving something to somebody who deserves high respect. And that could be somebody older than you, but in this case, what it is the general public. And anytime you are speaking to somebody or you're making a sign that's being directed to a large number of people, you want to use the formal way of speaking, which would be this instead of this. But they actually have the same meaning, but juda would be used in informal situations. Now, how does drida change to durya? Well, there's a lot of, as you might be aware, there's a lot of different things that you can add to verbs or adjectives or to ida in Korean. And one of the most common things that you can add is this, and it's a or all. And when you would add this over this, it depends on what the last syllable of the stem is. So this is the stem here. The stem here is just duri. And because it ends in this vowel here, the E vowel, you have to add this. And that's something I talk about in lessons 4 and 5, and it's something very basic. I won't get into it too much here. But you adding this all to drida changes it to duryo. And the meaning of that, again, it's the base meaning of this word is to give. But what is the purpose of this all added onto that? Well, really, in the simplest form, really it's just connecting this clause to this clause. And I do a whole lesson on that all. I'll go back here for a second. This all could have a whole bunch of meanings, and I have a whole lesson on it. It's in lesson 70. It's a very difficult concept to fully understand, but this clause connector, and one of the basic things, it's even hard to describe as a definition, but I described it as an intrinsic temporal relationship. And all that means is, if I was going to simplify that, is this clause here, this clause of giving uncomfortableness to the passing by or the passing through, is connected to me being sorry. And that makes sense right now. We can see sort of already how this sentence is taking shape. But again, there's a lot of meanings and functions that this could have. But in this case, it's just connecting the fact that this company is sorry about giving you the uncomfortableness of passing by. Now, the last word that we haven't talked about here is 대단히. Now, 대단하다 is an adjective, and it kind of means, instead of telling you what it means, I'll tell you the most common place where it would be used. And like, for example, if I walked into a room and somebody heard me speak Korean, a Korean person heard me speak Korean, and they were amazed of how well I spoke Korean, they might say, "와, 대단하다." And if you were going to translate that, it's kind of hard to, but it's sort of, "Oh, amazing," or "Oh, that's so cool." But in an adverb form, which is what this he does, this he sort of changes adjectives into adverbs. It sort of translates to very or really. And so the adjective form is, "Wow, that's so cool," but the adverb form is just very or really or something like that. So if we break down every word here, what we have is this company or this person is sorry. And actually, he's very sorry. Well, why is he sorry? He's sorry because they are giving the uncomfortableness in the passing by in a certain place. And in English, in plain English, what that would mean is under construction. We are sorry for the inconvenience or the uncomfortableness that you will face of passing by the street, which is now closed. So you have to assume that they're doing construction and the road is now closed. So we're sorry for the uncomfortableness that you have of passing by. Now, finally, just these last two words here. 안전하다 is the adjective that would mean to be safe. And the noun form of 안전하다 is 안전, and that would just mean safety. The noun form of to be safe would just be safety. And 제일 would have, it depends on where it's being used. But in this case, it just means, as you can guess, first, sort of safety first. And this doesn't usually mean first, but in this case, 제일 sort of means the most. And, things don't always directly translate perfectly when you're talking about Korean and English. But this would mean, if I was going to directly translate it, this would be safety is paramount, or safety is the most important. But in English, of course, we wouldn't say that. We would say safety first. So that's how I would translate this part here, even though it doesn't directly translate to that. So all in all, we have the sign saying under construction. Sorry for the uncomfortableness or the inconvenience that we're giving you. And actually, we're very sorry about that. But always safety first.